السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته جميعا. أرحب بكم جميعا باسم المجلس العربي للدفاع عن الثورات الديمقراطية.
I would like to welcome you all on behalf of the Arab Council for Defense of Revolutions and Democracy, and I would like in specific to salute Turkey, the people, government and the presidents of Turkey for hosting not only this conference but also all the movements of Arab liberation, as well as hosting more than 3 million Arab refugees. I salute them and thank them for that. Dear brothers and colleagues, dear brothers and sisters, I don't have anything to add on the political level more than what Tawakkol, my sister, said. She explained and put the basic principles for the solutions, and she knows better than anybody else on what is good for Yemen. I only support what she said. However, I would like to seize this opportunity since it gathers a number of researchers to raise 3 questions that I've been thinking of since the beginning of the Yemeni crisis and maybe even before that. These are questions that are very difficult, and I hope that this meeting will be an opportunity to think about that. You know that we are facing a massive humanitarian crisis. We have about 400,000 Yemenis. Most of them are children who are facing hunger. 10 million Yemenis who are threatened by starvation. 12 other millions who have the same destiny, etc., etc. So we have a lot of these silent sufferings that nobody knows but God. So we are facing a massive humanitarian crisis. So the questions that I have in my mind facing this crisis, there are questions about the people responsible for these sufferings. People who pray 5 times a day on due time, they kiss their children, and they act as if they are normal human beings. Nevertheless, they perpetrate such crimes, such horrific crimes, and they don't act as if and they don't have any sense or feeling as a human being. And we have seen that through history, whether in the Holocaust against Jews or the massacres in Rwanda, etc., etc. This puts us in front of a big question about the nature of communities and the nature of human beings, which means that there is a kind of a sleeping brutality within people that allows them to do such horrific crimes and don't feel ashamed about that and act normally at the end of the day. And as you know, all of people who are affecting or causing this hunger crisis in Yemen, they are full, they are living their normal lives, and they don't feel anything for that. So we have this grave problem. Another problem is our tolerance to see all of these scenes. Our tolerance, as if this is something normal, we go back to our homes and we sleep. I don't want to blame anybody or blame ourselves because we're doing our best. But we need to understand that humanity holds a large capability on cruelty or brutality and on tolerating brutality. May God mercy Jamal Khashoggi, and I commend what has been said about taking revenge of the killers or murderers of him and revealing the truth. And I would like to commend the role of media that cornered these criminals and didn't let them flee for one moment. However, and maybe now you will clap less, I hoped that this media will corner the criminals who killed that child who starved to death and not let the criminals escape? Doesn't that girl have a family to cry on her? Isn't she an important person? Isn't her image should be on the front pages of the Washington Post and New York Times every day? Doesn't Al Jazeera have to put the image of this child every day, every moment, every minute on the screen? So we are not doing enough facing the crisis that Yemen is witnessing. Once again, we need to do something. I'm not going to ask you to fast today, but I decided to fast today, at least today. At least for the day. So we need to mobilize for this cause and to work on it every moment in our lives till this crisis is over. We must not sleep peacefully in our beds, and the ghost of this girl haunts us every moment. So this is the first level, which is about the level of the gravity of this crisis and the weakness of responding to that, and we are all responsible on that. I don't want to blame certain people, but we need to admit that the gravity or our response doesn't match the gravity of the crisis. The second question, you all know that behind this crisis lies the political question, and here we have the question that must be posed. We have seen that the counter-revolution that is led by Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates and Israel and the deep states in the countries, we see how willing they are to sacrifice the revolting people. They will do all kind of crimes for that endeavor, and we have seen the cruelty they took, whether in Syria or in Yemen, and they can destroy the region to prevent people from revolting. And they put the people under two options: either to surrender to those dictators forever, or they will be crushed as people in Syria and Yemen, as happened to those people. So what will be the response to that? What will happen to this legal, peaceful revolution that me, Tawakkol, and Ayman, and all those who dream about the revolution, and the idealists, and Mohammed Mursi, all of us who dreamt of a democratic grassroots change that will change the communities from good to better, is it still valid, or are we in front of this cruelty and brutality? We are facing now a decision that, or in face of this decision, that we have counter-revolution that want to put an end to this of this Arab Spring. This is the challenge that we have now. What can we do? We are facing people who didn't get the message. They didn't accept this peaceful protest. They rejected all of the messages, and they said, we will step over you, we will crush you, we will starve you to death until you surrender to our rule forever, and you will remain as the flocks that are led by us, and you will never be able to escape this option or this choice. This gives us in front of a problem. As democratic people, activists, and peaceful people, are we going to continue this approach, or are we going to surrender? And we say that those people understand only the language of violence, and let them deal with the violent people, taking into consideration that we will not turn violent at all. So this is the question that must be answered by all of the Arab generations. And answering this question will define the fate of this region. Either it will go to bloody civil wars that starts with the Yemeni war and the Syrian war, and it will be transferred to other areas, or maybe we can flip back this tendency in a different way. You always know my response, the response of Ayman and Tawakkol, that we will continue our peaceful and democratic approach regardless of the challenges, and we insist on this option. However, If angry, hungry peoples took to the streets, those stupid people will be responsible for what will happen, not us. We gave them different options and opportunities through transitional justice and other means of justice, and they rejected that. They are to blame for the destruction that will affect them sooner or later. The third question is about the legal battle. Is it possible that this legal battle that we need to take or to undertake, all of us, can it give them these stupid heads that didn't learn anything from history? Can teach them something? Can we, for example, file claims against certain figures in this regime or in that regime? Because filing a claim against the Saudi regime or the Emirati regime means nothing, but against certain emirs and certain figures, because they are well known. Can we, through that, if all the peoples mobilized for that cause, to hold them accountable as war criminals and to hold them accountable for what is happening, can that tip the balance towards peaceful and just solutions, etc., etc.? Those people who are full and they don't care about the starving children of Yemen, and those who pray 5 times a day in due time, they fear and they don't have shame. And fear is that they will be prosecuted through the justice of this earth, not to speak about the justice of the afterlife. So the question is, can we as individuals file claims against them as individuals, regardless of the slogans of our belief in the revolutions, etc., etc., which may teach them some lessons or give them some ideas for those stupid people who didn't learn anything from history? So we have a number of questions and challenges that we need to raise. And today, Yemen, the martyr Yemen, and on the doors of which all the dictators and imperialists died, and you know, whether Australia or others, and you know the role of the Australian mercenaries who are doing a lot of killing, etc., etc. So I believe Yemen must be the end of a crises or catastrophes, not the first of them, because, as I said, the counter-revolution is willing to destroy all the Arab region. So unfortunately, Yemen and Syria might be the beginning of the tragedy, not the end of the tragedies. We need to make the Syrian tragedy and the Yemen tragedies the end of these catastrophes, not the beginning of tragedies or catastrophes that might reach as far as Egypt and Libya, Morocco and Tunisia and every corner of the Arab world. This is the challenge that we have before us as men and women of this nation, and men and women who believe in the democratic transition. Dear colleagues, I'm very passionate about this futile war. My sister, you said that the war will end one day. It will. But from now to then, how many people will die for nothing? How much suffering will be there? All of that because of those people who go to their homes, live as ordinary people, and they claim to be religious people, and they don't have the smallest or the minimum level of humanity to stop that war. It is their decision. When they decide the war will stop, please stop this evil that you are imposing over millions of children and women. Stop this evil that you are imposing on over us. But even with this passion and with my heart full of anger and pain, it is also full of love for the people of Yemen, children and women of Yemen, and the people of the Arab nations, and those who sacrifice on daily basis. This love is the thing that will motivate us, all of us here, to mobilize, to put an end to this crisis, and in order not to be repeated. Long live Yemen, long live the Arab nation, and long live Turkey. Thank you very much, and peace be upon you.